Well, hello everybody, Karimera. Um, just a quick introduction. My name is Sharon Kanach. I'm co-president of the Centre Iannis Xenakis, based at the University of Rouen. But before becoming co-president, I met Xenakis in 1977 as a student in Paris. And we remain good friends and collaborators until his death. And we collaborated mainly on his writings. The first, he forced me into becoming a translator, even though I wasn't ever really trained as a translator. Excuse me. But it started with Art Sciences Alloys, Art Sciences Alliage, excuse me, which was his thesis defense for his doctorat d'état in France. And I highly recommend this book. I don't know whether it's translated in Greek. Is it, Demetrius? Do you know?
No, not as far as I know. No, no, it
Anyway,
hasn't been translated into Greek, no. Not yet.
Okay, that's a pity.
Yeah.
Because it's a really beautiful introduction to Xenakis's thinking and in all of its complexity, but in very palpable language, because his jury was made up of personalities from the music world, Olivier Messiaen, Michel Serres, from an aesthetics point of view, Michel Ragon, as an architect, Revaud Dallon, also from aesthetics, and Bernard Tessèdre. And when he talks about very complex issues, he needs to talk about them in terms that the whole jury could understand. And so that basically it's a really, again, wonderful introduction to his thought and his work. And I really, Demetrius, you should translate it, I think. And then we continued by collaborating in revising formalized music. And then we basically co-authored music and architecture, which unfortunately Iannis never saw before he died. It wasn't completely completed by then. And I run the Xenakis series at Pendragon Press, which is a musicological, highly specialized press in America, where we've also published books by Benoit Gibson on Xenakis' self-borrowing, and also collected volumes on, for example, Performing Xenakis and Xenakis Matters, which was a compendium of presentations given in 2010, I believe, around the 10-year celebrations honoring his memory. So, and there are, of course, other titles to appear as well. But today, at the request of Antonios, I'm here to talk to you about the Centre Iannis Xenakis, and mainly about the UPIC. But Demetrius obviously already gave you a bit of an introduction about what it is, and amongst all of his works and realizations, it's one that sort of is a synthesis of his background in architecture and in music. When he was composing Meta-Xenakis, and perhaps Demetrius mentioned this in his talk, it started as graphic designs. He started imagining already in the 50s, the mid-50s, having the idea that he could invent one day a tool, an instrument that could transcribe drawings into music directly. And so he created in 1967 the CIX, which was a research lab, both fundamental research and applied research, in order to try to develop such a tool. And it took them 10 years, but 10 years later, the UPIC was born. Everything was run out of the CIX, and at that time, and it encountered a great success, not only amongst professional composers, but also as a very, very powerful tool for music pedagogy, as no prior training or knowledge of solfège is necessary in order to create one's own music. And this was one of Xenakis's main sort of humanistic mottos, is that what distinguishes man from the rest of nature, whether it be animal or plant or whatever, is our creativity. And that creativity is something that should be exploited from the very youngest age to the very oldest, to our last breaths, because this is what makes us human. So here you see that it's just a pamphlet. The computer to compose, conceived by Xenakis, the UPIC of Centenary. And as Demetrius explained, it's a large drawing board, basically an architect's table. And I always joked with him, saying that it was kind of a déformation professionnelle of his always standing up. He always worked standing up, which I think he learned as an architect, but he always wrote music standing up also at such a table like this, even when he was writing traditional music scores. So connected to this table is an electromagnetic pen on which each composer draws what they want, and the hardware in the back is what transcribes the gesture of the hand into digital information, and then it's reconverted in analog to become tape music. So the first piece, which you heard an excerpt of already, composed on the UPIC, was by Xenakis, called Nissan Alpha, which was premiered as, not as a piece as it is now, 9 minutes and 40 seconds, I think, but as separate interludes during his celebratory Polytope de Mycène in 1978, at distinct points between other musical works and the light show that was going on at the same time. We don't need to listen to it again. The year after the Polytope de Mycène in Greece, which was kind of the official return of Xenakis to the motherland, he created the CIX in Athens, a Contemporary Music Research and Documentation Center, in 1979. So the year after, already with Papianou, you see there, they obviously were thinking about this from his first return. And the CIX was the only institution outside of France to actually own, and there is still one there. It has problems as our old sort of dinosaurs, the first versions have. But there is a UPIC actually in Athens at CIX. The success of the UPIC, which I mentioned before, was really phenomenal, and it was invited regularly to all sorts of festivals throughout Europe. There was a major international tour that went through several venues in America and Canada, even down to Mexico, where one of his close collaborator, not really a collaborator, but really a colleague, Julio Estrada, had invited him, and where he started dreaming of doing a polytope in Mexico, which unfortunately never was realized. It was decided with Maurice Fleuret, who was formerly a journalist, a music journalist, brilliant man, who was a very dear friend of Xenakis, became the director of music at the Ministry of Culture in 1985. So they decided together that they would create a new entity which would serve for the promotion of the UPIC, and this became Les Ateliers UPIC. So it was always hard, even for the people who were close to him and following this more or less on a daily basis. What did Centenary do and what did Les Ateliers UPIC do? Why was it two distinct operations? Be that as it may, there were two, and so it was UPIC, Les Ateliers UPIC, that was responsible for promoting, but also collaborating. There are lots of contracts between the Centenary and Les Ateliers UPIC, defining who does what, and there was constant going back and forth, sharing ideas to improve the machine constantly. So in a nutshell, over 300 composers just in the Paris offices of Les Ateliers UPIC wrote pieces using the UPIC, either alone or with instrumental works or whatever. As I said, there were many tours, and was regularly invited to Japan, and 3 times in very high profile situations. And the director of Les Ateliers UPIC in 2000, knowing that Iannis's life was nearing its end, decided, with Iannis's blessing, to rename Les Ateliers UPIC to the CIX, the Centre de Création Musicale Iannis Xenakis. But soon after, actually the same year that Iannis died in 2001, the Ministry of Culture simply closed the CMMU. So it became almost the job of le CIX to continue to do the development of the machine UPIC itself. In 2007, a new team replaced the previous management, and that new team, which is now quite a few years old, is our current one still. And at the request of Françoise, Iannis's widow, we were renamed simply the Centre Iannis Xenakis in 2008 officially. So once that happened, after a brief residency at the Centre Culturel de Rencontre at La Tourette outside of Lyon, which was a very beautiful experience because there was a real adequation between having a Xenakis center at La Tourette, which, even though it was a convent and there were still maybe 10 or 15 monks who lived there, it was also a state-run cultural center. It was amazing to be there because this was one of the projects for which Xenakis was the project manager when he was working for Le Corbusier in the 1950s. But the Dominicans decided to close the cultural center, and so then suddenly we were kind of what we call in France SDF. We were like homeless for a while. We were finally able to realize a long-time dream, which I had been supporting for many years, even before joining the management team, and that was to get some sort of university affiliation, which would guarantee a certain perenity to the Xenakian legacy. So, one of the former presidents of the Les Ateliers UPIC was Pierre-Albert Castanet, who is a musicologist who teaches at the University of Rouen. And actually, by coincidence, I live in Normandy, which is maybe 40, 50 kilometers away from the university, which is a lot more convenient for me than going to La Tourette, even though it's less exotic, because La Tourette's about a 7-hour drive rather than a 45-minute drive for me. So Pierre Albert managed to negotiate for us a sort of residency that was going to be, you know, we had to get to know each other a little bit better, to know whether we were going to be married in a way. And so that happened in 2009, and our offices are in the student center, which you see on the bottom left, for me anyway, la Maison de l'Université. Our archives, which are quite important and are growing almost on a daily basis because more and more people are donating their archives to us, are housed and conserved in proper circumstances at the university library, and we are affiliated with a research lab which covers musicology but is actually a research lab in history. And finally, after all of these years, as of last year, we are now full-fledged and full-time partners of the university. In 2017, we became an associate partner of an important European Creative Europe funded project called Interfaces, which was run by Stegi, the Onassis Cultural Center in Athens, whose theme was how to increase or expand audiences for contemporary music. And speaking with Christos Karas about this, I said, you know, I think the best way to do this is start them young, and what better way to start them young is through something like the UPIC in order to avoid, as mentioned before, having to go through years of training before you actually can read or write music. And so he liked the idea, and we collaborated with my dear friend Iannis Xenakis, who at the time was working at the European University of Cyprus. Now he teaches at Ithaca College in New York State. And we developed a new application called UPI Sketch, which is entirely inspired by the original Xenakis UPIC, but hopefully bringing it into the 21st century thanks to technological developments, and also the fact that we can have it as a mobile device. We can put it on smartphones, we can put it on iPads, but also on Mac and Windows platforms. And one of our founding members, Rodolphe Bourrat, who was also an assistant way back when with Les Ateliers UPIC, has brainstormed and implemented this idea. And unfortunately, Rodolphe was supposed to join us, but he can't finally, and he apologizes. But we'll see him because I have a little film which we made for the Interfaces program, which I can show you. And so we are still committed to pursuing its development. We've just applied for a major grant, a national research grant, in order to pursue its development indeed as a pedagogic tool, because we're learning more and more about the effects and the benefits of it and how we can continue to improve it, but also very much make it once again into a truly professional tool for composers. As part of the Interfaces program also, we were able to produce this incredible book, UPIC, Xenakis' UPIC to Graphic Notation Today, in partnership with the ZKM, which we were able to print in a few hundred copies in hard copy, but at the link that's given there, everybody can download it for free, and it's been quite successful. Like over the past year, I think there were more than 8,000 downloads or something like that. So feel free to download it yourself. Anything and everything you ever wanted to know about the UPIC is in there, believe me. I don't know what's behind this message. And the UPI sketch, I think that's what it is. I can't see because there's something wrong with my screen right now. But the UPI Sketch application can be freely downloaded for the different devices or the different platforms from the address that's on my screen right now. So the CIX, along with 4 other partners, 4 other countries actually, are organizing a consortium to celebrate Xenakis' centenary. And we think the more the merrier. Olympolis is one endeavor, ours is another. There are other endeavors by Les Amis de Xenakis, which is a completely independent organization from us. And we're organizing several concerts and events and a marathon 41-hour nonstop symposium going through the 5 different countries in about a year from now, September 30th and October 1st, 2022. And in the context of this consortium, Meta-Xenakis, we will be hosting a competition for UPI Sketch with three categories. And again, on the screen, you can see where you can find out all of the details about this open call. And one of the categories will be for UPI Sketch for amateurs, that nobody, having no musical knowledge. The other one will be for professionals, but solo UPI Sketch, and a third category where UPI Sketch can be combined with other software. And we hope to be able to come and hold some UP sketch workshops with you in the context of Olympolis, PROMETHEUS IX, in order to help some people be able to be candidates for these three competitions, be they professionals or amateurs. This is our website, the Centre-Iannis-Xenakis.org, and we have a physical exhibit which I've sent to Antonios, and hopefully we'll be translating it into Greek. But you can see it already virtually, unfortunately only in French, at the link that's mentioned there. So, what I would like to share with you now is, first of all, are there any questions? And then I can show you sort of a quick demonstration of the UP sketch. And if we have time, I would love to play you like a 2-minute piece that was written by a little girl who is 8 years old, who has no musical training, but she did it in the context of these workshops, the first workshops that we did in Cyprus to launch the idea. And, but if people have questions now, or should we look at the footage first? Hello?
Hi, Sharon, it's Dimitris here.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for this. I have a very short question before we see the footage. So far, in your experience, has the use of UP Sketch been by amateurs or by professionals, mostly?
It's hard to tell, Dimitris, because it's been downloaded very, very many times. What we have done when we've held workshops, it's mainly been for amateurs, for children. And just recently, there was a science fair at our university, which is opened up to the grammar and middle and high schools in the whole region. And that was like 2 weeks ago. And in that context, we held workshops for over 200 kids, and it was incredible. One of the things that we learned, and now we're working with the psychology department of the university as well, because we really can quantify and qualify the results of a child's progress before UP Sketch, after UP Sketch. And one doctoral candidate at the university is absolutely fascinating, and his concentration is on the concept of curiosity in young children between 7 and 9 years old. It's very specific. He says there's a black hole there. Nobody knows. Nobody talks about curiosity, and this is a key factor for the future development of kids. And so we're working on devising questionnaires that kids will fill out before and then after they do a UP Sketch workshop. But one of the things that I found fascinating, the most fascinating, was that we had 2 or 3 classes of kids with quote unquote learning disabilities. And these were short, these were not long workshops. The workshops that we did originally in Cyprus were 90 minutes long each. These were like 20 to 30 minutes because there were so many kids coming through. And it was astounding to us to see that the 3 classes of kids with learning disabilities, the teachers were just in awe because they never saw the kids so concentrated and so productive, and that at the end they all left and they all, you know, had a new sense of themselves. So we're very excited about future developments in terms of using this as, you know, and one of my dreams also, I think we've all have seen some of the reportage that's been done on people with Alzheimer's, and that how music is one of the main triggers that can bring somebody's brain back to life. And I would love to start working like in old age homes or people with other sort of handicaps, or even in prisons, places where people have very little self-esteem or whatever, that this could be something that could be a major tool for them to develop self-confidence and creativity and self-esteem. So also, because of the direction that we needed to take for interfaces, the interfaces program, it was really our emergency was to create a pedagogic tool. Now we're really adamant about developing it more as a professional tool. And Rodolphe, every day there's something new happening. So stay tuned. And I think there's even a message that he put on our website on the download page that, it's a pre-release, and he's very generous in asking people for feedback also in terms of how we can improve things on our end. So shall we look at the video? How much time do we have?
Let me check for you.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure, but I think, I don't know, what was your, okay, so it's 3 o'clock here right now, and in theory this is the end time, but it is flexible, I'm told. So we can definitely watch the footage.
Okay. I can maybe skip some of it. I can bring this to where, well, here. We'll start and I can fast forward. Okay, you can skip this because I'm giving just basic background on what I've told you.
I'm from Centre Iannis Xenakis in France. I'm a composer, and also I worked on the development of a new application, which is part of the program of the European University of Cyprus and the European program for bringing music to new audiences. So this is the application is used for will be for tablets. This is an application that allows you to draw music. So I don't know. Can I show you? Yes. Or okay. You select a sound on the left. You can draw. So in fact, what it does, you select a sound that is already existing, and you applied it the pitch you have drawn on the page, which is a kind of new kind of score, and this no matter what the pitch of the original sound was. That's, for example, if I just drop the sound on the page. And if we listen to it, we've got the melodic sound, but if I use the same sound just for drawing a line, any kind of, it will apply to the original sound the pitch we have decided.
Okay, Antonios is telling me it's time to go. So I thank you for your attention, if I so, and see you tomorrow. I think we have some more coming tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you, Sharon. That was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.